Hey YouTubers, I hope you're enjoying the content. Before we get to today's video, I want everyone to go hit that bell over by the subscriber button so you're notified every single time I upload. Enjoy the video. Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super speculation slash theory video, and I am once again joined by Rakurai Network, KJ for short. Why don't you say hello, man?
How's it going today, bro? Thank you once again for having me.
No problem, no problem. Actually, I wanted to do this as quickly as possible because you know, you and I ran into that little situation with the last time we uploaded where the information we were talking about kind of got, I guess, pushed aside, so it wasn't necessarily a video that really hit the right levels at the right time, if you know what I mean. But honestly, guys, if you didn't see the last video, there's no real reason to check it out right now. So I do hope y'all like this video, and for anyone listening who hasn't necessarily heard that video, please make sure to go down and to the description section below. Click that link to Rakurai Network's channel. Make sure to sub. The guy makes some really thoughtful content with Dragon Ball Super, and obviously we're waiting for more and more of that to come. If you go down to support him, I'm sure that it will come much quicker. But with that being said, today we are going to be talking about the Tournament of Power and who is going to defeat Vegeta, actually for real this time. And honestly, before I let you talk, man, I just want to say, just a bit of a disclaimer. Look, I want Vegeta to win. KJ wants Vegeta to win. I'm sure most of the community would be completely fine with Vegeta winning, you know, taking everything home for this entire universe, this entire tournament, for once in his entire character arc of Dragon Ball. Not just Z or Super, but also GT and all the games and everything. Everyone wants Vegeta to win. But let's not kid ourselves, guys. It's not going to happen at all. This tournament arc, this arc in general, has not set that up. We know he just got a baby girl. He'll probably fight harder for that baby girl. We know he's been changing in his character, but they've set this up pretty epically for maybe a Goku win or a Gohan win, but not necessarily a Vegeta one. So with that being said, man, who do you think, your first guess, just an open discussion, all the characters that it could be and for what reasons, who's probably going to beat Vegeta?
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and start with the very, very, very low-hanging fruit, because I think just judging by what we can assume from past arcs in Super and how Vegeta's character is kind of like, you know, put on this end of the spectrum here, my first guess is, of course, going to be Jiren. Because usually how Vegeta is treated nowadays, which I don't personally have like a huge issue with it, but I can't deny that Vegeta is kind of used as like a catalyst for the audience to understand the new antagonist's power in a way, because it happened with Beerus and it happened with Goku Black, of course, and I think in this tournament, Vegeta's gonna walk up to Jiren, and then he's gonna like try and roast him or something. He's gonna get destroyed in like 2 freaking punches, and then Goku's gonna step in and take over. Like that's just what I've come to expect at this point. I'd love to be proven wrong, and I have a few other ideas on it as well, but that's my first guess.
And you know, the thing is I understand that guess. I think that guess is probably most likely going to be the most accurate thing that we actually talk about in this particular video. But this video is more for fun, honestly, just kind of speculating character-centric reasons why Vegeta would actually lose to any particular character in this upcoming tournament. But at the same time, I want to just make it clear, and I've argued this in the past, that it would be really cool to have Goku fight Jiren at the very beginning, kind of like he did in the Cell arc. Because like I said, you have this whole tournament arc basically leading up or hinting very heavily that Gohan's going to be the last man standing. It would be interesting to take a cue from the Cell games and have Goku go up against the strongest person at the very beginning of the tournament and leave everyone basically on the sidelines to basically take care of everyone else. And even the intro, although we don't put a whole lot of weight into the intro, has Vegeta fighting other people from other universes as Goku goes ahead and fights Jiren himself. So if Vegeta isn't taken out by Jiren and instead instead Goku fights Jiren at the very beginning and actually loses to Jiren, leaving it open for someone like Gohan, then there's the indication of whether or not Vegeta is actually going to lose to Jiren itself. So I'm going to talk about the next hanging fruit, the next low-hanging fruit on this, and obviously one of the more likely scenarios is Toppo fighting Vegeta, and obviously what I can see in this is, even though Toppo and Jiren are said to be good friends, they probably have more something akin to a Goku and Vegeta relationship, where Toppo is more like a Goku character, maybe Jiren's more like a Vegeta character, to kind of infuse that whole rivalry aspect with Goku to create a good type of fight between them. So having a Vegeta versus Toppo fight would actually make a whole lot of sense, because Toppo is Goku's character situation with like Peace and Justice or something, as we see him, more of a black and white type of character centric aspect to him, and then Vegeta is more of a hard-headed power struggle type person, who I'm just assuming Jiren is. So having him fight Toppo and then basically losing to Toppo would be interesting as well, although considering how he was kind of on par with Goku, it'd be interesting to think that maybe Vegeta went into the Room of Spirit and Time, trained enough like he did in the last couple arcs, and was able to now basically be on par with Toppo to have a really good fight in between them. But what are your thoughts on Toppo?
I also really do agree with Toppo, and I mainly say that for me, just because how we saw in the preliminary matches that, Goku and Toppo's fight was just, it was an amazing fight, first off, but it also gave us this indication of like when Toppo said, if you can barely last this long against me, you have absolutely no chance against Jiren. And I just think that's kind of like a huge thing there, to where, again, Vegeta's character could be used to show, like, okay, maybe he takes down Toppo, or, conversely, in this particular situation, Toppo takes down Vegeta, and then this eventually just leads into Jiren, who ends up being so much stronger than that, and then Goku has to take on Jiren after Vegeta's already been basically bodied by Toppo. So I could definitely see that as well.
Yeah, that actually makes a whole lot of sense, honestly, and just in terms of how that would play out and how it played out in the last tournament and everything else like that. I'm not necessarily sure one way or the other, but it does make a little bit of sense. Who's your next person?
I'm honestly gonna like throw a bit of a wild card this time. And I'm actually going and again, I don't know how much sense this would make in terms of like power scaling and stuff like that, but my next guess is I'm actually going to propose like a team between a few people to take down Vegeta together, and I would actually propose for that Kaba and Kale. And I say that because, first of all, and I'm a sucker for this kind of thing. I would love to see if, I don't know, if Kaba is able to outsmart Vegeta somehow, and then, just similarly to how, because Vegeta took out Kaba in one single blow last time. In our last video that we talked about, when we covered Gohan and Frieza's relationship, I would have loved the idea of Gohan giving Frieza a similar treatment to how he went down in the Resurrection F arc. I would absolutely love that, and I think from a storytelling stance, Kaba taking down Vegeta would be really cool to show his development, show how much he's grown, which again would make absolutely no freaking sense power scaling wise. But again, if there was some way that they could like strategize and stuff, it would work out well. And as for Kale, I think the main thing that makes me want to say Kale is the fact that Vegeta just had a daughter, and for some reason, I think the prospect of a female Saiyan is just kind of something that Vegeta hasn't really necessarily registered as being like a powerful force quite yet. Because right now, he's seeing a female Saiyan, like, literally just came out of the womb, kind of weak and defenseless, that kind of thing. And I just don't think he's necessarily thought of the prospect of it being like immensely powerful before. And Kale goes into berserker mode, I cannot even imagine the look on Vegeta's face at that point. So if there were at some point that those two could team up, and again they'd have to outsmart Vegeta, because unless they do something different with the berserker mode, to where berserker mode is apparently like Super Saiyan Blue tier, I guess, unless they decide to flip it. Unless they decide to flip it that direction, which I don't think they will. If they're able to outsmart Vegeta in some way, and hey, Caulifla can get in it too. She can get in it too. But if they're able to somehow outsmart Vegeta, I think a Universe 6 team of Saiyans could take down Vegeta.
No, I understand where you're coming from, and I honestly didn't really think of someone like Kaba, but it definitely does make sense considering the fact that they fought in the last tournament. He considers Vegeta somewhat of a master or teacher to him, who taught him how to use the whole Super Saiyan transformation and all this other stuff, which he's then taught to Caulifla, who then taught to Kale, and how that kind of ricocheted into the fact that maybe all three of them team up and fight him, or maybe even just someone like Kaba, or maybe even Caulifla and Kale, Kaba and Kale, Caulifla and Kale, or I already said that, but Kaba and Caulifla, whatever kind of mix and match trio or duo that you want to make from those three people would be pretty interesting. And also seeing Vegeta go up and maybe even be bested by another Saiyan outside of Goku would be pretty interesting. And even ones that team up against him who he thinks he can take out and then is basically taken out just because of his own arrogance and, like, you know, deceptive strategy that they could potentially use. Not that they're bad people, but deceptive strategy that they use in order to basically gain the upper hand would be really interesting. Kind of a hark back to the original fight between Goku and Vegeta, or maybe even the second one where Vegeta's won both those fights, essentially, because he kind of cheated. And just seeing other Saiyans basically do the same thing to him would be something pretty cool. Also, just I'm sure there's a group of people out there who just want to see Kale fight Vegeta just because of the whole Broly connection, and they want to see some kind of a reference as they did when he was fighting Kale, or she fought Kale, as she did when she fought Kaba. You would see some kind of a reference to the original Broly movies and how he actually fought Vegeta during those films. So I could see a lot of people really kind of gravitating towards Kale, Caulifla, and Kaba, or any mix of those characters fighting Vegeta, and especially when you think about like a group fighting them, and that completely takes away any type of power scaling issues or anything else like that, considering the fact that this tournament has been built almost exclusively on the concept of strategy is going to help us, not necessarily power. And this is one of those fights that would really, really punctuate that particular point. And when it comes to anyone else, and this is my big wild card, I'm sure there's a lot of people who we're going to meet in the upcoming episodes of Dragon Ball Super who might stand out as someone who could beat Vegeta, or Vegeta could beat, or we want to see Vegeta fight in one way, shape, or form. But honestly, we're only going off of the people that we know so far. I don't necessarily think that Botamo or Vegeta is going to be able to fight Vegeta and actually win. We don't necessarily know any other people. None of the other Pride Troopers that we haven't mentioned don't necessarily sound too intimidating to someone like Vegeta. They have that Sailor Moon, Brienne looking character actually fighting Vegeta in the opening, but I don't necessarily think she's going to be the one to beat him, although that would be an interesting fight that we can talk about in a moment. My off-the-wall pick here is Frost and Frieza.
Ooh, yeah, I see it.
I
see it.
Because as we saw in the next episode preview, Frost and Frieza are going to be talking and maybe even planning something. As we saw in the last episode, Frieza's not necessarily trusting Beerus and anyone else. He was even contemplating fighting for Universe 9 during the entire tournament, but obviously missed their chance. And I honestly think that they're going to figure out a way to hurt the team if another universe can, like Frieza or Frost or Universe 6 or something, can guarantee the fact that he will be brought back if he helps them win. And even though it might sound weird to a lot of people, I know he's going to be dealing with Frost, not necessarily Champa, but we do know that Champa has been looking for the Super Dragon Balls ever since the beginning of this story. Not just when we first got to the first tournament arc, but even this one, he even states like head on that he was also looking for them again for whatever reason. So potentially, if he can make a deal with Champa, who decides that he would rather have in order not to lose again or have any issue losing to his brother again, he would rather help sabotage that team, completely blow up that universe. And it's like, look, we'll use the Dragon Balls to wish you back and bring you to our universe. That would be pretty interesting. And just seeing Vegeta have to take on and potentially losing to 2 Friezas would be interesting to me, considering the fact that during the entire course of this series, he's dominated both of them. And both of them probably have a vendetta to pull against Vegeta. So I think that would be pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I know Frost definitely would want to, get some revenge after being Saitama in the last tournament. And then I know, like, Frieza literally got, like, the beating of his life before of course we reset time and everything, but even then it reset to after he had already just beaten the living breaks off of the guy. So seeing those two team up with just how devious they both are, especially Frost, because Frost is a lot more like subtle about how shiced he can be. Seeing those two team up to take down Vegeta, I like you said, Vegeta being taken down by 2 Friezas, I cannot even imagine how triggered he would be after that.
Exactly. What about, do you have one more?
Well, I know we brought this up before. Now, I don't know exactly how likely this is of happening, but I would actually list Hit as a possibility as well. And I say that simply because, it's only because I think back to episodes 71 and 72, I believe it was, where, Goku was basically, he thought that Hit was just going to use time skip on him. And at that point, Vegeta didn't know how to get past the time skip. And the important thing to note is that no matter how strong any of these characters get, the thing that I like that Super is doing is that they really have to understand their opponents a lot more. And as strong as Goku had gotten, he really had to understand how the time skip worked, how it functioned, everything like that. But by the time that he and Hit's rematch came about, he for a while didn't really know what to do, because Hit was going in with the mentality of killing him. He even said, "Do you really think I look so generous as to use time skip on you again?" So like that right there was already like, that threw Goku a huge curveball. And bearing in mind that Vegeta didn't see most of this fight, it's very possible that if because I know there are theories going around that Hit's abilities may not work in the world of Void and stuff like that. I don't know that for sure, but what I can say is that if Hit decides to call back to those old abilities that he showed off in episode 71, 72, Vegeta, no matter how strong he is now, he just might not be ready for that. He might just see Hit again and just go full force trying to get revenge on him for the last tournament and just not be ready in the slightest.
Mm-hmm. And that would actually play pretty well, honestly, in my opinion, that you have a character like Vegeta who might want to have that rematch with Hit just because he did get humiliated a bit, and he could kind of chalk it up to, he had this technique I wasn't ready for and I was tired, just as much as a lot of us in the community have, and he might, after a little bit of fighting that doesn't necessarily wear him out too much, consider that Hit is also a big deal. He should be able to take him out pretty easily, especially if Hit can't kill, and go after him, and then Hit just has this grab bag of tricks that Vegeta probably doesn't know about and will be easily taken out by Hit. The only thing I really think about this is the fact that Hit probably won't be the person to take Vegeta out. I think it'd be pretty cool to get another rematch between them, but because the last fight between them was just so much of a raffle stomp when it comes to Vegeta's character. I mean, he didn't get a word in edgewise. And it would be interesting to me to see Vegeta actually come and get a couple hits on Hit and maybe even look like he's about to take the fight, but then Hit kind of steps up and once again takes him down. But I'm not necessarily sure that's a good use of Vegeta's character when this arc comes. Not when you think about all the other potential purposes that he could use, not only with Jiren and Toppo like we mentioned, but also Kale, Caulifla, Kaba, Frost, and Frieza, that he has so much other connection to, or just a general story purpose that his defeat could actually serve. other than something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see like who actually beats him. I think the one thing I just want to point out here, I said in the beginning of the video, is that Vegeta will not win this tournament. I'm willing to bet money on that. Vegeta is not going to win this tournament. I would be very pleasantly surprised if he does, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I would be equally as shocked if like everything's said and done, and like everyone's off the field. We zoom in onto the stage, and then boom, Vegeta's the only one standing. I'd be like, is this a joke? Like, is this for real right now? Like, it just wouldn't feel like it was real. But as cool as it would be, like you said, it's just a very low chance that it could happen. But then again, maybe they've been building up him being destroyed so many times in the past that maybe this is his surprising win. We don't know for sure, but again, it's all speculation.
Yeah, I think that's just definitely the thing. It's all speculation. We don't necessarily know. It would be fun. I think it'd be really awesome if he won, but I just don't see it happening. So, guys, this is our list of everyone who could potentially beat Vegeta in the upcoming Tournament of Power. And just to kind of reiterate, we had Jiren, Toppo, Caulifla, Kale, Kaba, Frost, Frieza, and Hit. That's 8 people, I think. And obviously, those are people we know have somewhat of a connection to during this particular tournament, but we've yet to meet the vast majority of people who are going to be fighting in this tournament. So it could be anybody, honestly, but I'm just going to say that those are probably your 8 best guesses when you look at it that way. But one thing we do want to hear is everyone going into the comment section below, and we want to hear your all's opinions, we want to hear y'all's thoughts on what we said, anyone that we missed, any other cool concepts that you can think of, how he actually loses. Do you think with all your heart that Vegeta is going to win this tournament? And if you think that, why? I really want to think, like, I'm not judging, I just want to know, like, why you think that, and whether or not it's his turn. But with that being said, guys, please make sure to go down to the description section below, like I said at the beginning of the video, and click that link to Rakurai Networks. I'm just going to call you Rakurai. It's just easier. I want you to hit that link to his channel and make sure to go check out his content, give him a sub, because if you guys go over and support him, I'm sure we're going to get more awesome content from him much quicker than you would if you don't. I feel like all he really wants is he wants you guys to go over to his channel and talk with him about all the stuff that he wants to kind of bring up with Super, and there's a lot of interesting thoughts and opinions over there that you don't get from a lot of other Dragon Ball YouTubers, so please make sure to go do that. But with that being said, guys, please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. Like, rate, whatever. And don't forget to hit that bell over by the subscriber button just to notify you every single time I upload. And we all hope you have a good day. Bye.
All right, peace out, everyone.